Hello, everyone, and welcome to FFUK the pod. This is episode 3. My name is Chris, and today I've got with me a couple of very special guests. But before we get to that, I'm just going to do a quick housekeeping note. First week of the season has finished. Obviously, in terms of payments for the mini league, they're pretty much all in. We've just got a couple of stragglers that I'm chasing. I'm hoping to then announce the prize money. Hopefully sort of over the weekend or early next week. So that's it on that one. But now introduce my special guests. So I've got with me tonight, hold on a second, let's press that button. Yeah, there we go. I've got with me James Downie and Ameet Shah. Hi, James, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Chris.
Excellent, good to have you with us. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And how are you, Ameet? Nice to see you.
I'm well, I'm good. Happy football's back, and we can get back to these kind of routines.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll get straight into it. I've got some questions for you guys. I think it's quite clear from anyone viewing, obviously for anyone listening on the pod. James is an Aston Villa fan wearing an Aston Villa shirt, and Ameet is an Arsenal fan wearing an Arsenal shirt. I would say we've got sort of the old and the new. Ameet, when's your shirt from?
This is one of the, we are Adidas's cash cows now. So, and if they just release something every month, and I think this was one of the random things they brought out, a bit of a retro look going on. It's not very retro; it's only bought last year. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, but James I think he's got something on his arm there. James, I think you want to show it off, don't you, mate?
Yeah, it's quite a nice badge, this. Have a look. I'd never really seen it before. I'm not quite sure what it means. Can you help?
I can almost
Chris,
remember those.
You remember, Chris?
Yeah, I do remember those. Champions League, lovely. Well done, James. I think we'll obviously touch on that when we come through to chat about Villa in a bit. But I think, first of all, we'll start looking back at game week 1. So, Ameet, how did you get on, first of all, in game week 1?
Always for me, get 60 points on the board across every week, and you'll be fine. So 62, just about nudged into that. But not the best weeks. I think others around me, others in the leagues, fared far better. But 62 points, I'll take that as a start.
Yeah, solid, if unspectacular. James, what about you?
I got 65, which is fine. Yeah. I lost my head-to-head, but did right in the league and stayed in the cons, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's just important not to have a bad start, I think, more than anything.
Got the captain right, which is obviously the main thing when they get most of your points.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we'll probably touch on Salah at some point later on.
How about you, Chris? How did you?
Yeah, I had an all right week. I had a pretty good week, really. I got 70, so I was. Yeah, just about. I had Salah and Jota, and Haaland. So I suppose they were my main points. Oh, and I got some points in defence, but I've got some issues. But we'll definitely get to that later on.
Oh, yeah.
But before that, one of the reasons I got you guys on, apart from your FPL prowess, is obviously your knowledge of your football teams, and that's obviously really useful for other people who perhaps don't have as good a knowledge of Arsenal and Villa. Going into a big game this weekend, and maybe ahead of that, maybe with Villa's fixtures and things ahead of that. So I wanted to get you guys on and sort of ask you sort of about your club, really. So Ameet, let's start with Arsenal, really, in game week 1. In terms of what did you think of the lineup and sort of the style of play and the formation? Was it what you expected?
Yeah, as expected from Arteta. He doesn't really kind of waver too much from what he feels is the best setup. Classic early on, Zinchenko getting the nod. We'll see how long that lasts, but he was fine. I think tactics and everything was nothing too surprising. Partey playing deeper than Rice, releases Rice to go forward, not like he did much. I think set pieces, Saka and Rice on most of the set pieces, if not all of them, from each side. I think observations would be that Saka looks sharp already. Again, I think classic most touches in the box and creating the most chances, and then second to that, you got Havertz just constantly everywhere. He's going to play a big part again this season. I think slight negative for me was I didn't even notice Martinelli do anything all game. I was at the game and he just completely forgot he was there for 40 minutes, if not more. So
did he play the whole game? Did he?
He went off. No, he did play the whole game. And he switched across to the right-hand side when Saka actually got a bit of a rest, which I thought could be one to watch because that right-hand side for who Saka's backup is a big question mark on Arsenal season. And it was the first time I've seen, well, maybe not first time, but Martinelli getting a run out there with Trossard on the left was quite interesting. So maybe one to watch. But until he starts firing, I don't think it's an option for many people.
So were you pleased with the performance considering it was opening day?
Solid 2-0. I don't think I was super pleased with it. No, but that sounds negative. I thought it was just a solid 2-0. I think Wolves had a couple of chances they did get in behind and then fluffed a couple of chances to create something. Ray made a couple of good saves, but wins a win on the opening day, and then we can improve as the season goes on.
Definitely. Okay, JD, the same question really regarding Villa, really, and how did they get on? What about the lineup? Any surprises?
The lineup was exactly what was predicted. The only question mark was whether he would play Maatsen or stick with Dino. I think Maatsen will be the longer, like in the future, he'll be the left back because he's brilliant. But he went with the security of Dino. It was all fine. It was as expected. I wasn't sure if Rodgers was going to play number 10 or on the wing. But he played behind Watkins, and I thought he was really good. It's progressive carries. He's quite big, strong, and drives at the defence, and I think he looks really good. I'm kind of now in a situation where I think he's going to stay as behind Watkins as much as anything. And
interesting.
I thought, looking back on the game, I thought Villa were in control of most of it. West Ham actually, they're trying to have a bit more possession, which was better for Villa because we got to play more in the transition. And it was Villa's speed. They just couldn't cope with it. And there was a couple of occasions where Powell stepped out of the defence and West Ham just didn't know where to mark or where to go. Generally, I was impressed by Villa. I thought they looked really good. It was 2-1, but that was a crazy penalty. And I know I'm incredibly biased. I'm not saying that I'm not.
That's why we got you on.
Villa should have been 3-0.
I don't know. I saw the penalty the next day, and I thought it was one of those ones where he got the ball, and that's where every time I kept hearing was he got the ball. But I think he kind of had to then go through the player to get the ball. So there was an element of that to me. I've seen a couple given for and against us on that one. I think it's an interesting one. It's that whole tackle from behind, but the modern day version of it where you can't actually touch the player if you're going to go win the ball. So
I think it all depends. If the ref gives it on the pitch, it doesn't get overturned. If it doesn't give it, it doesn't get overturned. The thing was, VAR looked at it and then said, Matty Cash played the ball, but he didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to get into some real problems, I think, with that stupid Twitter account. But
I just didn't. I just thought, whatever. But
I think Villa were worthy winners in that game. Like I watched it. I didn't watch the Arsenal game, but you both got to be pleased. Opening day wins against, James. That's against West Ham. That's not an easy game away.
Before the game, I would have taken a draw. So,
Ameet, you're in the position of needing a win every week. To sustain a challenge. It's pretty relentless. Okay, so let's come back to Arsenal and sort of FPL picks. And you mentioned,
Chris,
go on,
what
James.
did you make Chelsea?
I actually thought we played quite well. I was reasonably happy. There was a couple of positions that I think need changing. I don't think Enzo worked in the 10 particularly. I think he'll end up coming back deeper. I don't know if I like Nkunku on the left, like a left winger. I think he's better inside or closer to the front. But we've got so many options coming in, and our games. You're going to learn a lot more about our game versus Wolves than you will against how we played against City. We were good against City last season. That wasn't the problem. It was all the other games against teams like Wolves away, which is what we've got this weekend. So you'll learn a lot more about Chelsea this weekend, I think. But back to Arsenal and Saka. We're going to talk about Saka, and we all know how good an option he is. But who do you go to next if you can't get to Saka? Is it Havertz? Is that?
Yeah, I was unsure who I wanted. I think if I'd gone Havertz, I would have had Salah in my team. This weekend, kind of, I think it was a muchness in terms of who you picked. One got an assist, one got a goal, but that was my choice of who do I go with, and obviously you'll see my team in a minute. But it was the Solanke move and move to him that meant Havertz actually completely moved out my team. So I think it has to be Kai. I think I watched him through the Euros, and he gets a little bit of stick for chances he misses, but the amount of times everything goes through him it's really starting to surprise me. And the German attack was all based through him. Everything we do. I initially went for Odegaard because I think a few people will say, well, Odegaard's 8.5 again. He's classic pre-assister. He's the classic makes things happen. Amazing to watch unless you've got a FPL pick with him. So genuinely probably is one of my favourite player right now. It's just to watch and how he goes about his business. But output, he'll be up there in the end. But he'll be frustrating to own from an FPL perspective. I don't think there's anyone else. I've seen a couple of shrewd people have got 6.5 Declan Rice with Partey behind him. It's not a bad pick, but I do think there are out-and-out wingers who are 6.5 right now. So to answer your question, I think it would have to be Kai Havertz.
Okay, and you just going back, you've just got Saka though, have you?
I've just got Saka from Arsenal attacking perspective right now, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come on to the defence in a bit, but JD, let's talk about Watkins, because obviously he had an amazing season last season, and he had an amazing summer. I mean, with what he did in that game for England right at the end there, I don't know if I've ever seen him score a goal quite that as technically good as that before. So my question is a simple one, James. Is he going to get as many returns this season as last season?
Genuinely, I think the way Villa attack, he'll get as many goals, but I don't think he'll get as many assists.
His number of assists last season was ridiculous.
Well, he got like 13 assists in the Premier League from an XA of like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So he definitely outperformed his assists.
And is that like laying balls back to someone who's giving it, who's hammering it from the edge of the box, or
exactly that?
Douglas Luiz or
Tielemans, he loves a good cutback, and Watkins is really good and really mobile. I think at some point again he'll be in everyone's team, but I don't think he'll be at the moment.
But 9 million is not expensive, is it? I mean, like, I always think there's a 10 million barrier where players become you have to really want them to get them, and you have to know that. And he's below that, and he's basically the same price as Isaac. He's probably more reliable in some ways.
Well, it's the thing, but he's only really had one amazing season.
True.
So I think they realised.
He's ticked over though before that. He's never been he's always done quite well. You know?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? The thing with it's Unai Emery. If you go back through his whole career, he gets one striker playing amazingly well. Tell me at Villarreal, I'm sure. The people will remind me who exactly it was, but I tell you, at Arsenal, he got Aubameyang firing, he got Lacazette firing, he gets strikers firing, and he makes them the focal point. And I think you're right. I think eventually he'll have a good. It's not eventually. He'll have a good season. Whether he gets the same points haul or not, but it'll be difficult. But he'll be there or thereabouts.
I also think if Duran stays, because Duran's done some very unlikable things.
I know. But he looks like a player as well, doesn't he?
Well, he's brilliant. I genuinely think he's a 70-80 million pound forward if he's not an idiot. It's like Balotelli.
And he plays a bit and scores some goals.
But he reminds me of Balotelli, just total live wire. I don't know what to expect. And I think he's going to get Watkins will play every Champions League game. And I think Duran will get more Premier League time this season.
Okay. Interesting. So that's not good for Watkins' FPL prospects, is it?
Not at the moment.
It's going to be saved for the Champions League. You just know it. So it has to be the priority. Is it the priority? Is it? It has to be the priority, doesn't it? I mean, it's Champions League. You can't go playing.
The league's pretty easy these days, so guarantee for.
Yeah, I mean, even Arsenal maybe we're going to win it. All right. Speaking of Arsenal winning it, let's talk about transfers. Have Arsenal got any plans to do any business? Do you think?
Yeah, I think the long-running saga of Marino is probably coming to an end this week. He'll probably sign, I imagine, this week. It's basically what Journo wants to kind of release as a new exclusive. So I think he'll be signing, which is good news. I think we need bodies in midfield and experience. I think City and others, Chelsea definitely have always done that very well in terms of having a clever person just going to go straight into the middle and change up this formation. But then after that, I would say if Eddie moves on, which it looks like it's going to happen, if Reece Nelson moves on, if Ramsdale moves on, it opens up gaps in the squad for a few more players, and it also puts pure profit back into the pockets. But given Eddie's going to go for 30 mil, he's an academy prospect, something we just don't tend to do very well. Smith Rowe's done the same; he's gone for 30 odd million. He's an academy prospect, so it allows them to PSR perspective kind of spend a bit more. Again, goes back to what I said earlier. We need a right hand option. Classic. We need a striker. We need a striker. I'm not really on that bandwagon, given Jesus is on the subs bench and he can still do a job for part of the season. But if Eddie goes, I think it'd open up a door for an option. But no one else is really linked. I've not really seen much else. But I feel like things are just about to start hotting up in the market.
So Marino maybe +1, you think, is realistic?
Yeah, and then plus a keeper, but we don't count, right? So,
yeah. Okay. JD, what about Villa? Are they going to make any more moves, do you think?
I think maybe a right back stroke right centre back might come in.
Oh, I hope not. I was hoping to get Nadalkovic.
Yeah, no, he's going to be brilliant. He's going to
be not if you bring a new right back in, isn't it?
No, if a new right back comes in, it'll be Matty Cash. But it'll probably be a right centre back as well. And then I thought that Carlos was going. But Fulham have just bought Anderson, so I don't think that will happen now. Villa have got the biggest squad that I've ever known as a Villa fan. They got as much.
Sorry.
Yeah. Villa have got a really big squad, so they need it. They need it, but they need to cut a few players down before they can get anyone. So I think the right back and right centre back could only happen if Carlos goes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they'll bring in a replacement forward if Duran goes. But to be honest, I think the squad's actually really strong. So
good.
Whatever. Yeah. I trust Emery.
In Emery, you trust. Excellent. All right. Okay. So let's look ahead to the game at the weekend then. It's at Villa Park. What was the score last season? I think Villa won both games. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember. I mean,
no. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This game's become a big game. Very quietly become quite a big kind of. It's been bubbling in the background for sure. Last season, I'll tell you exactly what happened. John McGinn, wasn't it? It got a goal from the edge of the box. Was it right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was a couple of incidents, and one of them was a disallowed goal in the last minute from Kai Havertz, which they kind of kept on replaying and didn't give it to him. And I think it was an incident. It was a penalty incident during the game as well, if memory serves me right. But yeah, it was Kai Havertz. Ref spotted a handball, no one else did, and even VAR couldn't really see where he'd seen it, but disallowed it because they couldn't overturn his decision. But yeah, we didn't score against Villa last season. And, they did a right number on us at our place as well. Season before that as well it was quite niggly as well. So yeah, so it's going to be an interesting game.
Okay, well, what you expect?
Tell you, mate, you sounded just like Arteta then.
No, thank you so much.
Whinging about that.
Hey, listen, one thing about football fans we don't forget. Don't even give me that. Us football fans, we hold grudges right till the end. So you know how we work. Come on, JD, you know that.
Brilliant. Okay, so what are we looking at for this game this weekend then? So at Villa Park, let's go with James first. What are you expecting?
Okay, 3 points really.
There you go. Easy. He said it before.
I was going to say last season to every Arsenal fan, I was singing, "Can we play you every week?" So can we play you every week?
Okay, and how are you going to get to those 3 points?
Seriously, Arsenal are brilliant. Aston Villa are good. Let's see what happens. I think this season, I'm really hoping we tighten up at the back. Our defensive midfield, we're getting more height and more strength in midfield, which is obviously something that Arsenal have done for quite a few years now, and Arteta's done it especially. And we're getting a bit more size and a bit more physicality, and hopefully we'll concede less goals. Although saying that, last season Arsenal didn't score against Villa.
Yeah. Was it 2-1 last year? It was, wasn't it?
2-0 at our place after we missed a load of chances and just got done last 10 minutes. Yeah.
Lucky, wasn't it? I mean, we were lucky.
No, I think if you don't take your chances, that's what happens. And they're trying to wind me up here, but yeah, it's working. No, they did as good a problem. Because the thing is, he speaks to a lot of Arsenal fans, and it's weird because even though that was the last game we lost, given we pretty much perfect from January, a lot of Arsenal fans don't talk about that's the game where we lost the title because it was almost a fair play to Villa, as in you beat us in a good football match. Yeah. But we go back to the games against Fulham and West Ham, and when we should have won. So it's almost a bit of a nod of, hey, we played a good team that day, and they did us. But not many. Some will obviously say it, but friends I know, we always go back a little bit further, saying, and where City didn't drop points. So it's kind of a bit of respect. But I think going into how we feel we'll approach it, I think you're bang on what you said, JD. Is Arteta's the kind of guy who will mention this. He'll replay, these results, and he'll remind the players that if we'd got 2 points from these games, not lost them, or whatever it is, or 3 points from one, how different it could have been. Because I think he does. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I don't think Wenger ever did that. But he will play on that and will work revenge into the narrative for the game. But in a weird way, I don't think there's going to be a great time to play at Villa Park. Maybe after they've had an away game in middle of nowhere, to and they're adjusting to playing back from Europe back into Villa Park. But I'm hoping playing a team early before they've got in their stride. We're talking about Watkins at the beginning. He's only played 60 minutes or whatever, except these boys are fit anyway, by the way. I've seen all these messages around about Watkins has barely played pre-season. This Foden's barely played. These guys they're athletes. They go on holiday and they train. So
it's just about if you lose that match sharpness, I think.
Yeah, and they'll get it back.
But you get that back, I would think, in about 60 minutes probably. So the next game, Watkins is probably fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm telling myself it's a good time to play Villa because it's early, but then it's their first home game and 5:30 on a Saturday. God, if you've ever been out in Birmingham, I was there for 4 years. It's going to be raucous, So it's going to be a tough game. It could be a good game though.
I think it'll be tight, and to be honest, if we hadn't beaten West Ham, we'd have gone for it more. But I do think we'll be quite prudent at the beginning of the game, let's say, not sitting back particularly, but just quite happy for Arsenal to have the ball and play on the transitions.
Yeah, definitely.
And but if we'd have lost to West Ham, then we'd have had to have gone for it. So
okay, let's talk about some picks now then, in terms of FPL and then a team prediction as well. So we have talked a little bit about the forwards, but Ameet, who, if you're looking at an Arsenal defender, either to bring in if you want an extra one, or just the number one, who do you think the best Arsenal defensive pick is at the moment?
I think it's Saliba. I think a lot of people are going to. It's an obvious one because he's one of the best players in the league. But a lot of people will go for Gabriel. I've got a feeling that you might see Gabriel rotated with Calafiore. Everyone's kind of wondering where he's going to come in and play. His best position is left centre back versus left back. I've got a feeling where games where he wants his second centre back to be better on the ball, be willing to drive forward. I think Calafiore may be rotating with Gabriel, who is a bit of a old school kind of double R, you know what, and he's throwing his body on the line and getting up for headers, etc. So I think Saliba, arguably might be the safer pick here.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned this briefly with Mark on the previous pod, and it came up, and I think definitely there's a fear there, isn't there? I think you're probably he's safe probably for a bit, but you just don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know whether he's going to try him at left back or he's going to try him at left centre back, but he's going to try him. And it's
he's come to play. He's come to play.
It's absolutely 6 million. He might be one we have to come back and look at later on, in the season. I think I agree. Probably Saliba is certainly the safest, isn't he?
Yeah.
In that defence. JD, we might be looking at Villa defences soon. Maybe not this week, but after that, who's the best Villa defensive pick for FPL?
Yeah, it's a real tough one. Honestly, I think Maatsen will be because they're just bombing on down the wing, and especially when Kamara's back to drop into defence when he goes forward. But at the moment, I'd say it's got to be Pau Torres. Most people have gone with Konza, and he's guaranteed minutes, but they both offer very little scoring threat. But Torres' progressive passes and rummaging forward, is that right? Whatever, going forward and just moving, breaking the lines and keeping the ball at his feet. Pau's a really impressive player at that.
He's just as nailed, isn't he, as well as Konsa?
That's a good player. Well, why don't you think they're not a scoring threat? Because I kind of I heard, I think whatever podcast we probably all listened to, talked about how Konsa just didn't get as many kind of points as you'd expect, and you've just had Pau. Remember, he scored a couple of goals, but you think they'd be better on set pieces, given even the set piece takers you have.
Yeah, no, I don't really get it. Torres isn't particularly big and strong, and Konsa, I think for so many years, Mings was the target, and Konsa was always the decoy, and can't get his head around being the target. but now, not being funny, now we got Ainana. It's even if his heading ability might not be amazing, big 6'5". Do you know what I mean? And he shows if you leave him alone, it's a threat. So
okay, all right. We need to get to our teams, but before we do that, Ameet, can you predict the Arsenal starting lineup for Saturday? Is it Saturday? Sunday?
Saturday evening, 5:30. I can't. I think will be unchanged. I can't see why he would change anyone. If he wants maybe to hold the ball a bit more, maybe bring Leo in for Martinelli. He's a bit more of a tricky player, but no one else is moving apart from that. I can't see it happening.
Okay, James, what about the Villa lineup?
I'm the same. I can't see Villa changing, but I think Ramsey's going to have something to say in the game, probably coming on at about the 60th minute, and I think he'll be a bit of a threat and very close being in the starting 11, but I don't think he will be.
Okay, and all right, let's do predictions. Let's have your score predictions, Ameet, for the game.
I think we'll do it 2-1.
Okay, and James, yours?
I'd be happy with a 1-0.
Okay, conservative, nice. After that early bullish talk.
I was winding up. I'd be happy with a draw because we won last week. If we hadn't beaten West Ham, I'd be here saying like 5-0.
I didn't ask what you'd be happy with. I asked you what you predict. What are you predicting? What's it going to finish? What does your heart? Not what does your heart say? Because then you'll say
This is going to be clipped and repeated for life, JD. Watch out what you say right now.
Oh, sorry, mate. 1-0.
Okay,
1-1.
We'll stick with it.
Yeah,
We'll remember those, and we'll give you a shout out if either of those are correct. All right, let's move on to our FPL teams for this weekend. James, let's go with you first. I'm going to bring it up on screen, then we'll have a look at it. So, for the people listening on the podcast, James, will you just go through your team player by player?
Sure. I've got Henderson in goal, and then Robinson, Alexander, Arnold, Guardiola, and then in midfield, Rodgers, Nkunku, Eze, Smith Rowe, and Salah. Then up front, I've got Holland and Isak.
Very nice. And on the bench, what's the bench look like?
The bench is Matthews, who I don't even know if he's the backup. He's the backup. Shah, Pedro, Kwanzaa, and Barco.
Okay, so you've got some depth there then. So what are you looking at?
Not really, mate, because I didn't sell Kwanzaa in time. I totally missed the price fall. But he wasn't going to pay for me this week anyway. So I just bunged him on the bench, brought Robinson on. Because I'd planned for week 2 quite more than I had for week 1, really. Yeah.
Okay, so you look quite nicely set up. I'm assuming your captaincy. Do I have to ask?
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be Rodgers.
Okay, yeah.
For the 1-1 draw.
For the 1-1 draw, yeah. If you don't go for Rodgers for one reason or another, who would you go for?
Probably Haaland.
Yeah, safe.
For the assist, right?
For the assist, yeah. The touches in the box. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the captaincies. If you've got Haaland, it's not even a decision. If you haven't got Haaland, it's one a hell of a decision.
Yeah.
But I think that we all have. All right. So, are you looking at doing any moves?
Only because I want to roll a bit this season rather than take all the hits. And the only one that I was a bit ring, and I wanted to give him another week anyway, was Nkunku. And because there's a few players around that price that I've been looking at. Yeah. But let's see how he does this week.
Give him another game, yeah. So you're going to roll the transfer, yeah.
Do you think he'll play though, Chris? Do you think he'll get 90?
No, I don't think he'll get 90. I think he'll play. I think he'll start.
Right.
The more interesting thing is where he starts. If he starts in the middle, more central, I think then he'll be better. And also, it's against a better opponent, an easy opponent. So
yeah,
he should get. But we've got João Felix, Neto. There's just so many options. It's a bit mad.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're this week. It's a nice easy roll. Not going to worry about it too much. When we do these videos, I think later on in the season, people will have some real dilemmas that will be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, I'm planning an early wild card. Yeah, because I always do an early wild card anyway. So at least this way of planning for it.
So when are you planning to do
it? Probably tomorrow. No. Probably game week 4 or 5 around then.
Yeah.
So because I haven't got any Arsenal players, and I really wanted to find a way to get Havertz in, and then to get choice was between Salah and Saka at the start of the season.
Oh, you look like you're well set up though, and you've got a good. As I say, I mean, I know you joked about your bench, but you've got João Pedro on the bench, and that's pretty good. It's just your defense isn't ideal having those two on the bench, but wait till you see mine in a bit. Okay, let's look at Ameet's team. Let's just bring yours up. Hold on, here we go. That's yours. So for the podcast listeners, Ameet, can you just go through your team?
Yeah, absolutely. In goal, Flecken, got Liverpool, Saliba, Guardiola, Robinson comes in from the bench lot from last week. Diego Jota, Smith Rowe's back on. Luis Diaz, who's my differential punt. Saka, some lad called Haaland up front, Solanke and Isak on the bench. Vladimirson, I don't know why. Kwanzaa, Rodgers and Barco. So yeah, that's how I'm lining up. And captain has to. But the only reason I think so many people will own Haaland, one of the main reasons they'll own him so early on is because he's got Ipswich the second week in. So that's why.
It feels like a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
so you haven't made any moves? Are you thinking of making any?
Well, similar to JD, kind of slept literally on the Kwanzaa thing, and his price fell, which is really frustrating. It's always going to happen. Barco going on loan now, confirmed today, was a real kick in the where's as well. It's one we all got suckered into, a lot of us, because the people that do too much reading and the people that think they're too clever absolutely got done by it. And well, obviously the folks on Black Box, the guy as a Brighton fan on there was even championing the fact that when Estepinian comes back and everything else, he reckons he'll definitely still play regardless. So, yeah, I'm absolutely done there. But no, I'm going to hold because I'm not planning an early wildcard. I think my biggest mistake last season was wildcarding too early. I think I just got bored after week 4 and did it on the first international window, when actually I truly believe if you can kind of stay there or thereabouts for a few extra weeks and use your wildcard a bit later on, you're able to pick off the back of a lot of data versus a bit of early season form. But no, and I think what I'll do this week, I'll see how Luis Diaz gets on. That was always my top aim, to see try and get him and Jota. Jota got his goal. Diaz apparently missed a load of chances, was buzzing around, but did nothing in the end. If he can get himself a goal or something, then it was worthwhile. And then from there, the plan is probably to drop down Diaz to someone else, like a 7 or 6.5, and try and sort this Barco Kwanzaa issue out. I don't like having players on my bench who don't play, because I like to kind of rotate and throw them in as and when they need to play. So yeah, that's my best laid plans anyway.
But you've got a bit of cover there. I know it's Rodgers is great cover. Arguably could play over a couple of those. The Diaz one is interesting because I haven't seen him in that many teams, and it's like if he does go off, it's fantastic, and he's going to get chances. But then I guess he could get replaced. He's probably the most likely to get replaced, maybe out of the 3.
Yeah, definitely. I think he played the whole 90 minutes weirdly the other night or the other day. But I think as players get fitter, he will. But that was always a plan. It was Diaz early on, see how he gets on. But he's going to run it. I don't really like having a double up in attack from any team. I think you're putting eggs in 2 minutes with one basket. But I think Jota. I think Jota will probably stay up front for longer than people think. I don't think he's not tested Nunes. Gakpo you might throw up there, but if you're playing Gakpo, you might as well play Jota. He's a very, very clever player in transition as well. So I think he's going to play there for a little while.
Okay, excellent. I think that's really interesting because you basically have both talked in totally the opposite sides of the coin, really. Not just about Arsenal and Villa, but about planning a later wild card because you think it's more beneficial and getting one out of the way. I think I'm probably more in James's camp. In fact, in the just getting it out of the way. And I don't know. You're right. I mean, there's a certain lack of logic to that, but it also does mean you can attack those early games. So if we look at my team and how it's set up. I'll go through it for the podcast listeners. So I've got Raya in goal, Robinson, Hall, and Kwanzaa at the back. And then I've got Jota, Salah, Gordon, and Kamada in the middle. And then Solanke, Isak, and Haaland up top with a bench, for what it's worth, of Fabianski, Rodgers, Mosquera, who's possibly lucky not to get a red card at the weekend. Yeah. And Barco, who we've discussed already. So I think my issue is I want to do exactly what you two are doing. I've just got a little bit less on the bench to get me through. So I'm at the moment even considering starting Mosquera and benching Kwanzaa because otherwise I'm bringing in. I can only bring in a 4.5 defender. And the chances of getting a clean sheet are pretty low, and therefore you're thinking what's the points purpose of it? Mosquera might get a point or two.
Do you know what? As much as he was in the news for all the very wrong reasons, he was. Wolves actually did well to frustrate Arsenal. Arsenal didn't have loads of chances, and you're probably not going to want him to have a clean sheet against Chelsea, Chris, anyway. But
no,
Wolves will be dogged, and Wolves will be dogged, and You know, and he seems quite an attacking player as well. So you never know with him. He became public enemy #1 over at our place, but yeah, I think he's not a bad player to put in because you know he's going to play. Just you can hope that you know Wolves are as tight as they were against Arsenal. We hardly had any chances really.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly hopeful. As I say, I think in some ways it's a harder test for Chelsea against Wolves away than it is playing City at home on the first day, where it's a bit of a gimme. You know, like no one expected us to win. Now the pressure's on, and let's see how we. But I've also got Kamada didn't have a very good first game. He was obviously a punt. I could have gone Smith Rowe, but I just like Kamada's opening 2 fixtures more as a combination. And I am definitely looking at an early wild card, and I'm even considering after 2 if it goes badly, and you know, I still got Quanta Barco problems. But if I save a transfer, then I've got 2 transfers, so I could sort that. So I haven't really. I think my decision is I haven't really made a decision, which will probably mean I don't really do anything. So.
Well, this season, the fact that you can roll 5 as well means later on in the season, if you plan well with your wild card, you can plan that you're going to roll a few, and then you've got a mini wild card with most of your team.
Yeah, well, I think I planned I'd do that, and then Kwanzaa does Kwanzaa and Barco does Barco, and all you need is a suspension or injury this week, and you're
exactly.
You've gone from rolling 5 to taking a couple of hits.
Exactly, and that's it. It's like what I don't want to do is save one and then wild card afterwards. I may as well then do Kamada for another 5.5. I could do Kamada for Smith Rowe, for example, if I feel like he didn't actually impress me that much. I'd probably go Pereira. As it was literally just a one week punt, I'd probably go Pereira because he's on all the set pieces. But or I look at another team, you know, with a 5.5. I've got to make that decision, but. It's been really fun chatting to you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, both of you. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I hope you've got something out of it, you two. And obviously, I hope everyone listening and watching has got a bit out of it as well. And the season feels like it's properly it is properly underway now. So let's hopefully we'll do some more of these throughout the season. I say thanks, James, for coming on.
Thank you, guys. You take care.
And thanks so much, Ameet, as well.
Cheers. Welcome.
Good luck Saturday, Ameet.
Yeah, good luck to you, James.
I really don't mean that.
Oh, no, I know.
Brilliant.
I'll see you on the chat afterwards.